Hey, Mr. here, and we're going to have a look at the drag bat attack post-nerf, especially the bat spells is what we're going to be paying really close attention to. Is it still a viable attack at Town Hall 10 and Town Hall 11? Town Hall 12, I'm not sure yet. We never used too many of them at Town Hall 12. We used drag bats at 10, we used drag bats at 11. And if it's not as viable, is there something that can be done to make it still viable? We're going to be having a look at that as well. So before we get into it, let's just have a quick look at what the nerf actually was, how much they got nerfed, and then we'll get into the 4 attacks. I've got 4 attacks to show. Okay, so here we have the bat spell changes that were made. So for Town Hall 10 is what I'll be referring to for this one. So in the combos that I was using, I was bringing 7 bat spells. So in the case of the 7 bat spells, you've got 7 times 14 is 98. And if you had 6 times 14, you're looking at 84. Now, with the spell being reduced by 3, 7 times 3 is 21. So when you take the 21 away from the 98, you're left with 77. So 77 bats spawned is less than it would have been if you'd brought 6 bat spells from the previous level. So it's like bringing a little bit less than 1 less bat spell. Okay, and of course down here you can see the first attack delay. This is from the moment it's spawned to when it does its first attack, has been increased from 1 second to 1.5. Now this means the bat is hanging around longer doing nothing, getting shot at by weapons, has a greater chance of dying. So we're going to show you how you can overcome that, let's just say. Anyway, so with the magic video, let's just pop over and have a look at the attacks right now. Now, I should say, the nerf only happened a few hours ago, and so we've done 4 drag bat attacks since then. They're not all on max bases. We're doing them on the bases that we're presented with in our current random war, so do please acknowledge that, or understand that. You can clearly see there are some Town Hall 8 archer towers in this base. You can see one there, and so on. So I'll tell you the brief idea of this particular attack was to, let's just have a very quick look at it, was to come in with the heroes over this side, get a baby dragon here to possibly funnel this and this and get at least that going, and then put the dragons in down here. Now the idea was to put the rage over here and to freeze this area. If I can get the Inferno, the Expo as well, that's great. And freeze all of this because the bats are spawning in this area. Now what I've done in the past is, on this situation where I can't freeze 2 wizards, is I've dropped 1 bat spell on the wizard and the rest over here to freeze it. So just to distract this wizard. So that was kind of like the plan on this particular, let's get that out of the way. Let's have a look at how the plan actually went in action and what we can learn from the results. It was a 3-star, and remember, it is a weak base. It does have Town Hall 10 air defense, so keep a king on the eye on the king, on the queen, and so on. What the bats do, what they don't do. So baby dragon's gone down here to try and get a little bit of a funnel going. Got 2 archers on it at the moment, so it will perish. And then the dragons will be coming in shortly. So here come the king's about to clear out some trash, which is actually quite handy. I didn't even really expect the king to go that way. Now the queen, unfortunately, I don't use the queen's ability. The queen probably would have taken out the king easy, and then would have taken out this air defense. So I've actually sort of harmed myself by not popping the queen's ability. So here comes the Stone Slammer, in with the dragons, got the rage spell. The lava hounds are going to go over to this air defense. Now over here is where I'm going to use the rage and the bats. Over on this side, drop the rage. I drop the bats any second. There we go. Really slow on the freeze spell. It's there. This wizard is just pounding into where the bats are spawning. I get the Expo down, I get the Inferno down, Expo, and I eventually get this air defense over this side down, which should have been down already anyway, and the bats are kind of petered out. So remember, I am with the NERF, I'm coming in with 21 fewer bats than I would have otherwise. I thought I compensated with the free spell to try and overcome the delay, but still they petered out. However, we can fast forward this. We can see that max Archer Towers probably would have taken out this balloon, and the balloons would never have been able to get this wizard. The wizard's not going to do too much to the dragons, but I've still got 6 dragons left up. So this is at least one important thing. I still have 6 dragons left up in this attack. It's not a best base, it's a crappy base. So, but anyway, let's have a look at the next attack. Okay, now the plan on this one, I'll cover the plan just quickly on this one. The plan was to get the king in here with the queen, because I really want these 3 things to go down, especially this wizard tower. And by taking out this, at least the dragons won't path this way. There'll be a big hollow, so I want the dragons to be forced to go in. Get a baby dragon on here to take out a little bit of a funnel. So when I get all the dragons in on this side, they'll all be forced in this way. This is what I want them to do. Now, the plan also is to drop the rage and freeze down this area. I won't be worried about this wizard. These wizards will be targeting the dragon over that side. Now, you'll notice that leaves the queen and this over here, which is a really interesting thing. Because, have a look at my spells. I've brought 2 skeleton spells and a poison. Now what had happened was I had been cooking the skellies and the poison for clanmates for donation, and they were in my barracks. Now the attack you just saw, these popped out, and as well as 4 bat spells, which I had already cooked up. These popped out and I'd forgotten about it. And I knew that I needed the more bat spells, so I had the 3 bat spells cooking. I then cooked the 3 bat spells. And I thought, well, I have to remember to delete these. Now, I didn't delete them. So keep this in mind that I'm actually coming into this attack light and accidentally with 2 skeleton spells, which may actually have worked in my favor. Let's get into the attack, and there's a little bit of a difference in the deployment, which is what you'll see, of the bat spells. And there's a difference in the result because of that deployment. At least I think the result is different because of the deployment. So this is a possible way that we can still keep the drag bet going as a very, very devastating attack. Possibly not as devastating as it was, but devastating nonetheless. So the king's gone down, taking out the enemy king. Archer queen's taking out the archer tower, take on the wizard. She'll come take down the, she'll take down the cannon. Now she'll come back up, take out the archer tower and the elixir. And at that point, I'm not even going to wait for her. Get the dragons in, they'll just pummel on over, come on in. Okay, so now we're going to keep an eye down here, and what I do that's a little bit different down here. My queen will go down. So I drop the rage, I drop the freeze, and now I drop the bats. Now that means that, okay, the freeze doesn't take out this air defense, but look at all the work the bats are doing, and I've dropped the skeleton spell over here where the queen is. I've dropped both skelly spells and the poison spell. No, I didn't drop the poison. I could have even dropped the poison to keep the queen less active, let's just say. And the difference, and it's just a weak cannon at the bottom, nothing to worry about. Okay, so the difference is massive. The freeze spell has allowed the bats to stay alive. And granted, it's not a max base, so we are taking that into consideration here in what we're seeing. But all I'm talking about is a technique to help keep the bats alive a little bit longer to do a little bit of extra work. And that is dropping the freeze first. So rage, freeze, then the bats. So the bats are spawning while, but you've got to be quick because the freeze spell doesn't last long and you bring the freeze in the clan castle. So it's the maximum amount of time you've got for the freeze. Now, the skeleton spells I've bought by accident, but I've actually seen that they've actually had a really good use. And the use for them here has been to distract the queen, and possibly, if I dropped the poison as well, the queen would have been even more disabled, and the skeletons, they were getting wiped out by the Expo, but the whole thing was stopping that area from attacking the bats. Now, it also makes me realize you could drop that skeleton spell on an archer tower or a wizard tower or something like that to distract the archer or the wizard from bats that are flying around and spawning and coming in their way. So that is one way to help keep your bats alive. So you've got the freeze before you drop the bats, and then a skeleton spell for distraction as well. Okay, let's have a look at another one. Okay, now this one is a little bit more maxed. It's got maxed Infernos and some almost all maxed Expos. Are they all maxed? Let's just see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they're maxed. They're all maxed Expos. Look, the bomb towers aren't, and some of the archer towers I think are a little bit weak. There's one up there. Okay, let's dive into it. Have a look at the funnel, have a look at the process or what the kill squad is trying to do, and then the rest of the troops trying to do. You'll see also that, so that we're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges, it's almost the identical troops that I'm using. 8 dragons with 2 lava hounds to help tank for the dragons. And in this case, we are bringing a freeze spell, but it's a careful use of the freeze spell as well. So the freeze spell is not a clan castle freeze spell though, it's the attacker's own freeze spell. So what we've seen here is the queen is going to get this air defense, and she's going to come in. The enemy queen is down, Tesla's down, she'll take out a wizard. So there are no weapons on this side next to the wall that are going to draw dragons over towards this way. Now the queen is still alive a little bit, she's coming down, but she'll get wiped out. So here come all the dragons. There's not a lot you can do about this unless you try to have dragons on both sides. You just have to rely that some dragons will stay on this side of the moat, some will stay on the other side. And this isn't too detrimental if you have a plan for it. So if you understand this is what's going to happen, you have a plan for it. So Stone Slammer's coming in on the left-hand side, hopefully to take out all of this. It doesn't quite work. Over here on the right-hand side, the bat spells have gone down with a rage and taken out the Inferno, Expo, Sweeper, coming onto the Tesla, coming up onto the top air defense, up the top there, up near the dragons, take out the air defense up there in a second, and at the very least, there we go, taken out, and got a freeze spell that was used on the air defense down the bottom. So the balloons survived because of the freeze spell down on this side. So still, the bats did a tremendous amount of work. They took out all of these weapons. They flew up and they helped keep the dragons alive at the top, and then they petered out. And the freeze spell wasn't used to keep the bats alive. The freeze spell was used to try and keep the balloons alive by freezing that air defense. So we can just speed this up now. And you can see here we've got 1, 2, I think there's 5. There's 5 dragons all up that are, I believe, are left alive in this attack. There we go, 5 dragons. So even though we don't really have a lot left, he did bring 3 minions of his own for cleanup. We've still got 5 dragons, which is over 100 troop space, including the minions that are left. So it's still devastating, at least on these types of bases. Not everything was fully maxed, but you can make this judgment yourself. Okay, let's have a look at another one, Town Hall 11 now. Okay, let's have a quick look. Is this fully maxed? No, over here you can see that we've got a less than maxed Expo, and we're looking around. I can see a Town Hall 10 archer down the bottom here. Got some Town Hall 11 archers. I can see a couple of Town Hall 10 sort of things. So it's not a fully maxed base, and it might not be the best base in the world for the layout. However, what we're going to be looking at here is there a way to keep the bats alive so that they can do a lot more work than they would have otherwise? So this is a queen walk. This is a queen walk electro drag bat attack, and we're going to see how this one pans out. It's a 3-star. It turns out to be a 3-star. We're going to see how much work the bats do in comparison to what they may or may not have done previously. So a couple of hogs coming in to take out the air defense. That's not going to work too well. A couple of Teslas pop, so the hogs will get fried before that air defense goes down. It was good thinking though. Distract the cannon onto the queen. Queen's rage. There we go. Beautifully paced rage just behind the queen, so it gets the queen and the healers at the same time. Got the king over here to try and create a little bit of a funnel. Ice Golem coming out onto the queen. Electro Drags have gone down with the Grand Warden and the Stone Slammer coming in, and this part of the base is good. So what we're going to do is keep an eye up here on the left-hand side of the base. I think this is where the bats are going to get deployed any second with a freeze spell, if I'm not mistaken, on this area up the top. There we go, freeze bats. And no rage for the bats. So the attacker did say they had meant to have a rage for the bats up there, but forgot. So those bats just went down with a freeze and a bat spell. So just kind of proving that the bats didn't even need the rage to help them in that particular case. So that might be something else to consider as well. Swapping out a rage for maybe an extra bat and an extra freeze if needed. Now they petered out, but look at all of these weapons that those bats took out. The Electro Drags will eventually get it. Yes, this is, if this base had this on single target, the Queen would be down. It'd be frying through the healers, and it may not have been a 3-star. Grand Warden comes in, ability comes in, air defense still down at the bottom. So yeah, whether it was on multi, whether it was a single, determining it whether to be a 3-star or not, you know, hey, look, if the Hogs got this out, then they wouldn't have to fly down. But there you have it. So Drag Bat is still a viable attack on the right bases. If you can drop the freeze before the bat spells, then it keeps the bats alive. If you go rage freeze bats, then the bats stay alive. Be very picky about where you put your bats. Don't just spam them everywhere and think it's going to be all hunky-dory and peaches. Sometimes you can use the Stone Slammer on the side to come in. It doesn't always have to come in behind the dragons. You can use a Stone Slammer on the side as extra distraction if you need to. And you've seen here that you can drop the freeze and the bats without a rage, and you've also seen that you can use a skeleton spell to help distract things to also help keep the bats alive that little bit longer. So that's it for these newly discovered kind of techniques by accident or on purpose, as I did accidentally with the skeleton spells. So the question of the day, seeing as we've had the most OP thing ever and it's kind of been a little bit nerfed, we're going to have, the question is going to relate to OPness, and that is this: how many push-ups can Chuck Norris do? How many push-ups can Chuck Norris do? The answer is all of them. Anyway, that's it for this particular video. I hope you found it some use. Share this with your clanmates so they're aware of possibly some new techniques they might not have been aware of on how to keep the bats alive and still maintain doing drag bats, at least at Town Hall 10 and on some Town Hall 11 bases as well. Leave a comment, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.